So, hi everybody. Welcome to the Museum of Glass. Today we're going to have our resident team of glassblowers working. These guys work for the museum. They're professional glassblowers. They have an average of 20 years experience making glass. So, just to get you started, I'm going to give you just a very brief introduction to how glassblowing works. Everything that we do starts out in our glass furnaces. The glass furnaces are the ones where you see the square holes in the steel wall and the doors closed. Behind those doors, it looks like what you see up on the big screen. So each one of our furnaces has a big ceramic tank, and in that ceramic tank is 1,000 pounds of molten glass. We keep the molten glass at 2100 degrees, and at that temperature, the glass has the consistency of honey. So when we want to get the glass out to make stuff, we take one of those steel pipes. We dip the end in the molten glass. You can see the little glowing orb on the end of his pole. That's the hot glass. We roll it on the table. And then we blow just one little puff of air into the tube, close it up with our thumb, and the heat and pressure from the air expands the bubble and blows our first bubble. All the glass that's in our furnaces is clear. It has no color. So we buy our colored glass separately in the form of these bars. We buy it like an artist buys paint. We buy red, yellow, pink, or blue. We cut off a little chunk of colored glass, we heat it up, and then we melt a layer of colored glass over the clear glass. So that's what these guys are doing over on the left. One of them has blown a bubble of clear glass. Another one is heating up a chunk of colored glass. We're going to melt the colored glass over the clear glass. Once we coat that initial bubble with the colored glass, we'll let that cool off a bit and stiffen, and then we're going to dip it in more clear glass. So what you'll get is something that looks colored, but if you cut through it, you'd see it's just that one skinny layer of color. Now, in a big factory where you're going to make everything the same color, then they just melt a big tank of colored glass and dip into it. But here, we want to make a red thing, then a blue thing, then a green thing. So we color each piece individually by melting on a layer of colored glass. Two kinds of furnaces. There's the glass furnaces, which we talked about before, the ones with the doors closed. And then there's the glory holes. The glory holes are the round guys with the doors open. Those have no glass in them. They're just a hot chamber that we use to heat and soften the glass while we're working. So you see these guys going back and forth. They'll do a little shaping, then they'll stick it in the glory hole, make it soft again, and then back to the workbench and do some more shaping. Nope, glory holes are only under the workbench. Yeah. 24/7. Glory holes are only under. It'll be okay for a while. If it turns off for a long time, then we have some emergency propane burners that we can stick in there and keep it So if you watch the man in the bright blue shirt, that's Ben Cobb. He's dipping into our furnace. He's twirling it around the hot glass, and he's coated his bubble with another layer. Each time we dip it in and coat it, it's called taking a gather. So over on the far left, you can see Ben in the bright blue shirt. And he's just rounding out his bubble, making it nice and even. The tool in his hand is called the block, B-L-O-C-K. It's made out of wood. It's stored in a bucket of water. As long as the wood itself is wet, the tool doesn't burn, nor does it leave any marks as he shapes the glass. Right now, it's just trying to make it nice and even. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. When was glass invented? The truth of the matter is we don't really know. The earliest man-made glass we know of dates back to around 2300 BC and was found in the area where Iraq is today. Now Ben is going to take another gather. So we just keep building up the glass in layers. So at this point where it's thick and gooey, if we see a bubble in it, we can actually physically yank it out and snip off that glass, and then we'll round it out again. So that's what he's doing with those scissors. He's yanking out the bubbles, snipping them off, and then he'll round it out again. He's going to hand it over to Sarah Gilbert in the center workbench. So the person that's blowing is the man crouched down to the left of the bench. So he'll be blowing as Sarah shapes him. gray pad in Sarah's hand that she's shaping the glass with is just ordinary newspaper folded up and soaked in water. As long as the newspaper is wet, it doesn't burn too much, and it doesn't leave any marks as he shapes the glass, or she shapes the glass. So Gabe in the black hat is blowing. You guys have any questions? So now Sarah's going to squeeze the glass and make a sharp crease in it. That sharp crease will be the place where we can break the glass away from the metal pipe. The tool in her hand is called the jacks, and making that crease is called jacking it down. She's making a vase. So the top of the vase will be the part that's now attached to the metal pipe. So the narrow part that she's creating, that's where we're going to break it away from the metal pipe. The furnaces are 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. The glory holes are 2300. So I think, do you need the centigrade? It's 1250 centigrade is the glory holes, the round ones, and the glass furnace is about 1150 centigrade. Six and a half times what it takes to cook a turkey. Working with the glass is kind of like working on a lathe or a pottery wheel. The work spins, and we hold the tools against it as it spins. When Sarah holds it down at an angle, the glass is hot and soft, and the bubble will stretch under its own weight. She wants this form to have a little bit of a waist, so she's squeezing it in the middle. Flowing. That's it. What? Make it bigger, like a balloon. So now Ben in the bright blue shirt is holding a wooden paddle against the bottom. So he's making the bottom where it's going to sit on the table flat. And Sarah's shaping the sides with the pad of wet newspaper. So the pad she's shaping with is just folded up newspaper soaked in water. Simple. So Sarah's holding her jacks, those metal tongs, against the side, as Ben in the bright blue shirt presses on the bottom and making the little bottom corner of the vase a little crisper. Yes. The torch allows us to focus the heat in a particular place. We, we can get one part of the glass extra hot and extra soft without affecting the rest of it. No, what you're seeing is the glow from the heat. It doesn't change the actual color of the glass. It's like the wires in your toaster. When they get hotter, they glow orange. So we're going to stick a second steel rod onto the bottom. That second steel rod is called the punty, P-U-N-T-Y. And it's going to act as a handle to hold the vase from the bottom while we shape the top. And now Sarah's using the torch to concentrate the heat on the very top, make that part extra hot and therefore extra soft. The purpose of the studio is so you can see glass. It's not really up business per se. You sell some of this stuff, but that's not really the model. So the glass at the top of the vase is always a little bit thick. So the next thing we're going to do is heat that up, make it soft, stretch some of it out, and trim some of it off. So Sarah's going to squeezing it down, making a little flange, and pulling outward with her arm. And she's stretching out the glass at the top. And then you're going to bust a piece of it off. So that big skinny wobbly part, we're going to knock that off. Give it a little tap, and that part comes off. So we're going to blow a little air into the front end. The tool they have is called the soffietto. Soffietto comes from the Italian verb to blow, soffiare, to blow. Now Sarah's widening the opening. As Sarah widens the opening, her assistant is holding a wooden paddle in front of her hand to shield her from the heat. Ooh. That wasn't supposed to happen. The connection between the metal pole and the bottom of the vase got too cold, and it cracked spontaneously, and the whole thing came off. But don't worry, we still have 1,000 pounds more of glass in there. We'll just make another one. So over on the left, we're starting the next one. We've blown a bubble of clear glass. The man sitting at the bench has the clear glass. The man standing up is heating up a chunk of colored glass. We're going to melt the colored glass over the clear glass. let the clear bubble cool and stiffen a bit. We'll get the colored glass very hot and gooey. And we'll drop the colored glass onto the clear glass. We'll push it back a little bit. And we'll heat it up and smush it until the original clear bubble is entirely coated with the colored glass. This is what we call a color overlay. She's going to force that colored glass backwards against the metal table till it entirely coats the original bubble. Buy colored glass separately and form a bar. We heat up a little chunk of colored glass and we melt the layer of colored glass over the clear. Nope. Nope. We buy our colored glass in the form of these bars. We buy it like an artist buys paint, red, yellow, blue, pink. Cut off a chunk of whatever color. We heat it up in that round oven. We blow a bubble of clear glass, and then put a big blob on there, and then push it back till it coats the original bubble. Yes. So it's going to look colored when it's done. It's really only that one skinny layer. It's sort of in the middle. If you look close, you'll see this clear, and then yellow, and then more clear on top of that. Yes. take the original bubble, coat it with color, and dip it a bunch of times more in clear.
And then so heat up the color. Does that put it on the? I don't know how you attach it to the end of the bar.
We get a little clear lath from our furnace around the end of the metal rod, and we just stick it on.
Stick it on, put it in, heat it up, and then it's ready to go.
That's what they did.
Okay. I'm always wondering why. Oh yeah, right. So why the difference between this is room temperature and then the glory hole is hot? Is that the secret?
Glory holes. So two kinds of furnaces. Glory holes all around the tank. Glory holes, they're all the same machine. There's two ways in which we heat up the glass. Sometimes we heat it up in the big round oven. Sometimes we heat it up with a torch. When we heat it up with a torch, it allows us to focus the heat in a particular place. We can make that part extra hot and extra soft without affecting the rest of the object. Sarah wants this shape to have a little bit of a waist in the middle. So she's heated the middle up with a torch, made it a little softer. And now she's squeezing it and putting in the waist. So we're flattening the bottom. We're holding a wooden paddle across the bottom as we turn it. Sarah's holding her jacks, the metal tongs, against the side to keep that part straight, and they're kind of squeezing it a bit to make the bottom corner sharp. Do you have any questions, ma'am? You good? So the next thing we're going to do is transfer the glass from the rod it's on now to a second steel rod called the punty. This second steel rod will hold it from the bottom while we shape the top. Sarah's going to scratch a little circle in the middle of the bottom so she knows where the center is. We're going to attach the punty, the second steel rod, to the center. Sarah's squeezing it. She's going to make a little flange at the end. She's going to use that flange to stretch out the top. The little flange will give her something to push against. And once she gets it stretched to the proper length, then we'll cut the flange off. pulling outward with her arm. Stretch that out. And make another notch where she really wants to cut it off. So we're going to blow some air into the front end. Inflate that part in the top a little bit. So we're opening the top. As Sarah puts the finishing touches on the top, her assistant holds a wooden paddle in front of her arm to shield her from the heat. we're almost done. Everything that we make has to be cooled off slowly. So we're going to take the vase off the metal pipe and place it in our annealing oven where it'll be cooled slowly overnight. Good. You guys have any questions? Natural gas and forced air. Fire. What? 2,300 degrees. 6.5 times what it takes to cook a turkey. You guys have any questions? We place it in our annealing oven. And at the end of the day, we place all the stuff in there. And then at the end of the day, we'll start the cooling process. And tomorrow morning, they'll be cool. So over on the left, we're starting the next one. One of the glass blowers will blow a bubble of clear glass. The other one will heat up a chunk of colored glass, and then we'll melt the colored glass over the clear glass. So the man in the bright blue shirt, he's going to blow the bubble of clear glass. He's dipping into our glass furnace, coating the end of his steel pipe, the blowpipe, with molten glass. He's going to blow just a little puff of air in there, and that will make the first bubble. Gabe, the man in the black hat, is heating up a chunk of colored glass. We're going to melt the colored glass onto the clear glass. So we're getting ready to coat our clear bubble. The man sitting down has the clear bubble. The man standing up has a little hot chunk of colored glass. We drop it on top, mush it back a little bit, then we'll heat that up and smush it till it entirely coats the original bubble. Does anybody have any questions? You guys? No? You guys back there? Good. You guys like to win a piece of glass? Over on the far left, Ben is letting his bubble cool off and stiffen. And we're going to dip it back into our big tank of molten glass and coat it once again. Each time we dip it into the big tank, it's called taking a gather. G-A-T-H-E-R. When we dip it into the big tank and coat it with molten glass, it's called taking a gather. G-A-T-H-E-R. Every once in a while, steel pipes get hot. When they do, we take them over there to the far left. We've got a little trough called the pipe cooler. We lay the metal pipe in the trough, spray water on it. That cools it down, makes it easier to hold. Sarah's going to round it out. Sarah's in the center bench. Now we have all the glass we need. Now we're going to blow it up to its full size and shape. Sarah points it down at an angle like that. She's letting the bubble stretch out a bit. It's hot and soft, and it will actually stretch under its own weight. You guys have any questions? Well, working at the band starts between about 1800 and about 2. So teaching professional glass blower for about 10 years. I learned at Massachusetts College of Art in Boston. I guess so. I'm not sure what you mean by that. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think I was pretty artistic, but I didn't do anything that no one else did. Oh, it's all over the map. We have guest artists come in from all over the world. They make stuff, take it with them. We keep the museum collection. We do commissions, we make stuff in the store, we take it to demonstrations, we make sculptures, kids drawing. It's all over the map. These will end up in the store. So Gabe, to the left of the bench, is blowing and inflating the glass while Sarah, sitting at the bench, shapes it. The gray pad in her hand is just folded up newspaper soaked in water, ordinary newspaper. As long as the newspaper is wet, the paper doesn't burn too much, it doesn't leave any marks as she shapes the glass. You guys have any questions? See one under this seat. So Ben in the bright blue shirt is pushing against the bottom, making it nice and flat. Sarah is leaning on the edge to make that edge straight. The tool in Sarah's hand is called the jacks. The tool in Ben's hand is called the paddle. Natural gas. Natural gas and forced air. No, this is the pipe that's not the liquid natural gas. Pretty low at the moment. Sarah's going to scratch a little circle on the base. That little circle will tell her where the center is. We'll attach the punty, the second steel rod, and that's going to act as a handle to hold it from the bottom while we shape the top. We're going to drip a little water where we want it to break. Little tap, and off it comes. Sarah's assistant is holding two wooden paddles in front of her arms, her hands, to shield her from the heat. So we're going to bust off that irregular part at the top. Sarah's widening the opening a little bit. I'm going to blow some air into the front end. That tool is called the soffietto. It means little puffer in Italian. So we're almost done. Everything that we make has to be cooled off slowly. So we're going to take it off the metal pipe and place it in our annealing oven where it will cool slowly overnight. No, we use our glass is different than bottle glass. The bottle glass is made to harden very quickly, so a machine can make 1,000 bottles an hour. That's too stiff for us. So we have it specially formulated to be worked by hand. So it's a different formulation.
Do you ever change the type of, I saw that they're making a different type of glass for like the metal pieces. Do you have a different type here every now and again, or?
Well, we use one glass for everything, but at the end of the summer we're changing over to a different. The company that made our glass for many years is closing, so we're going to switch to a different glass.
How often do you have visiting artists?
We have about 30 of them over a period of a year. They come from all over the world: Italy, Spain, France, Sweden. These guys are our regular museum team. Is a
Right.
home team.
So all they do every day is just build glass.
Yeah.
Pretty
You know,
cool
but
job.
what?
Pretty cool job.
Yeah, it has its, it's like any other job.
Right. Same.
There's parts of it that suck.
Be hot every day.
Yeah, it's not that much fun in the heat of the summer. No, the bottles that you use today are made by machines. They're not made by people. I mean, back in the 1700s, bottles were made by people like this. What? Oh,
Is that an oven?
yeah, it's called the annealing oven. Each day we heat it up to 920 degrees. We place all the objects we make during the day there, and then at night we cool everything down all at once. So it's got a little like an automated thermostat that just slowly turns it down. Next morning it's cool.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for coming in. Hi, how are you guys? Do you guys have any questions? You got members badges. You've been here before? No. Oh, isn't that red thing members? Uh huh. Okay. Yeah, you can see the fire. It's really hot. It's as hot as a volcano. Yep, yep. Sure. Well, these are guys who are Museum of Glass Hot Shop team. They work for the museum. They're super skilled. That's Sarah leading the team right now. Sarah Gilbert. That's Gabe Feenan sitting down and swinging his arms. That's Ben Cobb. And we're making kind of cooling tower shaped vases. We're sort of about midway through it right now. So that gray pad that Sarah has in her hand is just folded up newspapers soaked in water. As long as the newspaper is wet, the paper doesn't burn, nor does it leave any marks as she shapes the glass. Did you have a question? I thought I saw you raise your hand. These will probably end up going to the gift shop, but we do all sorts of things here. We have guest artists that come from all over the world. We make sculptures from kids' drawings. We do commissions. It's all over the map. Yeah, people do it. Other artists, other different types of artists do it. But yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yep. So any kid that comes to the museum can do a drawing. Once a month, we pick one of the drawings and make it out of glass. There's three reasons why the building is in this shape. Reason number one, it looks really cool. That's number one. Number two, the building acts as a giant chimney, so that it's a natural updraft to take the heat and smoke out top of the building. Number three is historical. Along this waterway before the museum was here, there were a number of sawmills. The sawmills had big conical metal outbuildings where they burned the wastewood from the sawmills to dry the lumber. Yeah, you can see a picture up on the big screen. When the architect Arthur Erickson, who designed this building, saw the pictures of those, that's what gave him the idea to make the building in this shape. Just plain old newspaper. I thought I had one sitting here somewhere. Put it here.
Watch from your mirror. That's it. Yeah, look at that.
folded up newspaper soaked in water. You know, I don't really know. First time I saw it was in the 70s. The first time I saw it was in the 70s.
How long have you been doing this for?
40 years.
40 years. Has a lot changed technology-wise with that, or probably not?
Not really.
Yeah.
Mostly the big change. The big change was Venetian glass blowers came over from Venice and began teaching the young Americans. So we learned a lot from these young foreigners.
Who became a glass blower?
1979, the Venetian masters came from Venice to America to teach us.
Is there any integration with like technology in glass blowing at all, other than just kind of like
I mean, we use computers to control the temperature of the furnace, but the essential process is pretty much the same as it's been for thousands of years.
that's awesome. I mean, with like 3D printing and stuff now, you kind of get, it's like it's cool. Like, this is definitely more.
And
Is that piece for JP3? Just using that kind of.
yes, making the sides of the vase straight, keep all the wood pallets at the bottom to make it flat.
So this is like an always on routine.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a team sport. The next thing we're going to do is transfer the vase from the rod it's on now to a second steel rod called the punty. The second steel rod is going to act as a handle to hold the glass from the bottom while we shape the top. Come on in, sit down, make yourselves at home. How you doing? Good. So these guys are our Museum of Glass Hot Shop team. They're a resident team of glass blowers. And today the team's being led by Sarah Gilbert, sitting at the center workbench. We're making vases. We're, 4/5 of the way done. So Sarah's just making sure that that's centered on the metal pole. We're going to stretch out the top a little bit and then widen the opening to put in the flowers. How hot? What? The oven's 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. Howard? It runs on natural gas and forced air. An hour. We turn it on an hour before we start, and we shut it at 5 when we quit. So Sarah's going to stretch out the glass at the top of the vase. She's got those little tweezers. She kind of pinches and pulls, pinches and pulls. I'm going to bust off that little irregular part. Well, we have two different types of ovens. We have the glass furnaces, which are the ones where you see the square hole and the doors closed. There's two of those, one on each side of the studio. And then we have 4 glory holes, the round ones with the doors open. There's one behind that steel shield. The glory holes are for heating and softening the glass while we're working on it. They have no glass in them. The furnaces contain the tanks of molten glass. Mm-hmm. Yep. Can we put up the furnace diagram? So that's what it looks like behind those closed doors. Each one of those has a ceramic tank with 1,000 pounds of molten glass. 1,000 pounds of glass would be a block of glass 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, and 1 foot deep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the glory hole that she's working in and out of, that's just for softening the piece. We heat it up, soften it. We have a minute or so where we can shape it easily. Then it starts to get stiff. We return to the glory hole and soften it again. This is called a garage. That's kind of a warming oven. If we make something in several parts, we make part number one, stick it in there, keep it warm. Then we make part number two. We'll pull part number one out, warm it up a little extra, and stick them together. So it just keeps things warm until we're ready to use them. Well, you can always heat it back up again, theoretically. But say if we made this vase, we put it on the table and let it cool on its own, it would cool too quickly and unevenly and it would crack. Well, we could take the cracked pieces and melt them again. What? No. We can only reuse our clear waste. We can't reuse our colored waste. Because the big tanks where we melt the glass are clear. We can't throw purple and red and blue in there. The colors in glass come mostly from metals dissolved in the glass when you first cook it up. So cobalt makes blue, chromium makes green, manganese makes purple. Well, we've been starting the pieces in that bench and then finishing them on the center bench. If we shut this one off, we'd have to wait another hour to use it again. To use it again, if we shut this off now, it would take another hour to heat up, so can't shut it off. Yes, somewhat. You have to heat up the mass of the oven itself. The energy to keep it hot is just the amount that leaks out through the flue and the radiation through the walls. Yeah, sort of vaguely. There's a hood that goes over all the equipment in the back, and it's vented, that vents through there, but they're not directly connected. The biggest danger in this shop is the repetitive motion injuries. The constant turning of the pipe, the weight being so far out on the end of the pole. Most of the things that you would think are big deals are not. Getting cut, getting burned, breathing chemicals. Those really don't pose a great hazard. What? We get little cuts and burns like you might if you worked in a restaurant kitchen. So little annoying things, but not medical. Oh, Sarah's got a design in mind. She wants this kind of cooling tower shaped vase. We're placing it in what's called the annealing oven, where it's going to cool slowly overnight. Yes. We heat this up to 920 degrees. We place all the objects when they're finished in there, and then at night we cool everything down all at once. This is just to keep them warm while we're working. It's 800 degrees on one side and 1,000 degrees on the other. Well, yeah, it's probably not easily shapeable till it's about 1,300. The furnace is 2,100 degrees. Right. The furnace is kind of on simmer. The glory holes are a little hotter for heat, so you can heat things up quickly. What? Yep. Yep, it's hollow, just a hollow steel tube. No, we have two. We have the blowpipes, which are hollow, and then we have the punties, which are solid. So after we blew the vase and transferred to the second rod, that second rod was a solid rod. Same thing. Same thing you just saw him make. So we've blown a bubble of clear glass, and now we're going to coat it with colored glass. You drop a little blob of the colored glass on top. And we push it back a little bit. And then we're going to heat that up and push it back till it entirely coats the original bubble. No, we've blown already. We made a blue little bubble of clear glass, and we just dropped a big blob of colored glass on top, and we're coating it, put a layer of colored glass, then we're going to dip it in more clear glass, and we'll blow it up a little each time, and then when we finally have all the glass we need, then we'll blow it up to its full size and shape. So it's hollow right now. It's hollow right now. Yeah. It's straight ahead where it says furnace. Straight ahead. It's in a big ceramic bowl, yes. Can we put up the, there we go. So that's what it looks like behind that door. Well, it gets thinner and thinner the hotter it gets. So it's right now it's like, well, it's not like honey. You get it hotter, it'd be like water. You get it hotter, it'll boil. You get it hotter than that, it'll evaporate. Yeah, I'm sure it does. I've never evaporated it. We buy it from a company called Spectrum in Woodinville, Washington. They make it. Sand. Sand, soda ash, and lime. Sand, soda ash, and lime. No, they give it to us in little chunks. We get 50-pound bags of these little chunks, and we shovel them in our furnace and cook them overnight. What? Yeah, I'll show you. We get 50-pound bags of these. Why not? Yeah, they do melt better. Sure. Sorta. No, some companies make better glasses for blowing than others, but there's no graded system or anything like that. Just like if you went to the grocery store and you bought salsa, you'd like some of them better than others. Yeah, there are different formulations for different purposes. There are thousands of recipes for glass, and there are different recipes for different purposes. Yeah. Oh, they're made with all sorts of things. Glass. They make low expansion glass for telescope mirrors with titanium. There's You can make glasses out of metals, no sand at all. You can make glasses out of metals, no sand at all. Yes. They make what they call bulk metallic glasses, and they make metals that are 10 times as strong as ordinary metals because they form it like a glass. Oh, they use it for all sorts of things. They make what's called bioglass that they use to make artificial bones, and it's so loaded up with calcium that your body thinks it's real bone and will grow onto it. They make sol gel glasses for coating architectural windows with low energy reflective coatings. I mean, they make glasses. They make of glass called fused silica that they use in the windows of the space shuttle. What? Well, people use glass blocks for building. But that's probably as close as you get. Yes, the man crouched down to the left of the bench. He's going to do the blowing while Sarah does the shaping. We buy colored glass from a different company. We don't add any color in the furnace. When you saw him over here, when he had the little bubble and then he had the little blob of colored glass that we mushed over the clear bubble, that's when we added the color. We bought it from a company that does nothing but make colored glass. They cooked it up from scratch. Oh, we preheat them either in that oven over there or that oven over there, and then we stick them on one of the rods and get them really hot in the glory hole, in the round furnace. We dip the end of the rod in clear glass, and the clear glass sticks to the chunk of colored glass. No, it's a distinct layer. So it looks colored, but if you cut through it, you'd see it's with just that one layer that we melted over the first bubble. So the color on Sarah's piece is just a skinny little layer just like on this. Yeah, it looks like it's made out of colored glass, but it's really only lined with colored glass. So this is the same way. This looks like it's made out of amber glass, but it's not. It's just a thin lining, just like this. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like it's made out of colored glass. In a big factory where you're going to make everything the same color, what? No, they use the color bar like we do. Yeah. If you're going to... If you're going to, in a big factory, they'll melt a tank of red glass and make 1,000 red bowls. But here, using the color bar, we can make anything, any color we want, anytime we want. So we could coat it with yellow or blue or pink. And so it gives us great flexibility with color. That's why we do it.